Hello, today I'm going to talk about pruning raspberries, which is something that worries quite a lot of people, and it doesn't really need to. Raspberries can be broken down into summer fruiting raspberries, which are called floricanes, or autumn fruiting raspberries, which are also called primicanes. I'll start with the primicanes. We're actually in February, and finally we've actually got a dry day. We've had really grotty weather right through. And February is the right time for pruning your primicane raspberries, which these are, and it is literally as easy as taking them right down to the ground. So I'm just literally going to go through the bed and cut them right down to the ground, and then they will shoot up, and as the name suggests, primicane, they fruit on first year wood, or the primo wood. Now there is one thing you can do with these if you like, to make them actually fruit a little bit earlier, so you can make a primicane raspberry fruit a bit like a summer flowering raspberry, and that is, rather than taking it right down to the ground, you can prune it sort of about halfway, so what are we, sort of about 90 centimetres, 3 feet tall, and this will fruit earlier, so it will fruit like a summer fruiting raspberry. But what you will find is you'll actually reduce your yield down. So if you've only got one row of raspberries and you're trying to extend the season, I would always plant autumn fruiting raspberries, and then you can probably deal with half the row in one way and the other half right down to the ground, so you're extending the season as much as you can. So that's it really for autumn fruiting raspberries. I'm going to prune up some of our summer fruiting raspberries, which should really be done in the autumn time, but as I said, we had a really grotty autumn last year, didn't get round to it, so we need to get them done now. It's fine to be a bit late with them. Gardening is a science, but not an exact one, so if things do slip, it doesn't matter. It is squidgy underfoot. So this is a summer fruiting raspberry, or a floricane, and this is actually the variety called Tulamine. As you can see, these are the canes that fruited last year, as in last summer, and if we were doing this properly, what we would have done is pruned these out as they actually finished fruiting. So we'd have probably been pruning these out in sort of late August, Septemberish sort of time. And what we don't want to do is then leave any of the new canes that are coming for this year, which in other words, these came as new shoots at the beginning of last year and have just grown away and not produced any fruit. So that's why it can be a little bit confusing if you do leave it too late, because you've got to identify what is the new and what is the old. But once again, it's the same technique with the old cane, as in that you take them right down to the ground. That was an old one. And that looks like an old one. And that certainly was. There we go. So those are this year's cane. Those are the canes that are going to fruit this year. Now, what you want to do is just tip them back slightly. And generally you can do that in March, but we're the middle of February, so that's fine. So they're tipped back, and that's all we need to do with that little bit of the cane. Obviously I've got to go down the row, and if we do get any more dieback, then we'll take that out, and those will fruit beautifully this year. Your new canes will come up from the base again, which will be the ones to replace these, and then in the autumn, if we have a good autumn and we actually get around to pruning them at the right time, that's when you prune these back down to the ground. So that's it really. Raspberries are very easy, a lot easier than people think.